And we are live. So what's happening, everyone? And welcome to today's session. We're going to be going over global selling. And as requested, Tamur is with us again. And Tamur, thank you very much for joining. Last time people really enjoyed having you on. So we're going to be going through global selling. Tamur is going to be jumping in at various points. I'm going to be adding to that. And of course, Tamur is a specialist in accounting and bookkeeping and that area of your business, which becomes really important when you do go global. But Tamur, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dan. It's always a pleasure to do one of these Q&As with you. I can already see people are saying their highs, so good to know.
Yes, hello Kevin. Thank you for joining as well. But let's jump straight in here. And I think where we're going to start here is how many markets are there that you can sell on? Obviously, Amazon's expanded, but Tamur, if you could break down, I know you have a screen share as well. How many markets are there that sellers can sell in?
Sure. So I'll quickly share my screen just to show you the Amazon marketplaces available to us at the moment. So currently, there are about 18, and new marketplaces are being included every year now and then. But the main ones are United Kingdoms and the Europe side of things. But now Europe also is obviously divided into many different parts. But these are the list of 18 ones. And China it was also a part of one of the markets, but that's not a part of Amazon anymore. But United States, Canada, Mexico, UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Japan, United Arab Emirates as well. Brazil is a really emerging market at the moment. Australia, India, Singapore, Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Sweden, and Poland are the new ones. Poland is coming soon. I believe it's now available, soon available. So that would be the 19th one. So those are the ones that we have at this point in time.
Awesome. And there was China at a certain point, but that has now shut down for anyone wondering on that specific one. And then in terms of, let's say I choose to expand, I want to sell on multiple markets. How can I actually set up accounts so that I can sell internationally? So Tamur, do you have anything on that part?
Sure. So look, from what I know, if you're on UK and you're resident in UK and you sell on Amazon.co.uk, then you're selling in essence like in a market that belongs to UK. Now, when you go to a different market in a different country, that's a completely different market and different country. So you have to follow their set of rules, regulations, and their understanding. What Amazon has done is, to make it simpler and easier, it has divided into regions, and there are two big regions at the moment. So I'll quickly share my screen again just to show you and help you understand that. So the two unified accounts at the moment is one, as I said, mentioned, is the part of Europe, and the other one is US. Why has Amazon does this? In the past, you had to open up an account in each separate market on its own, pay their seller fees for each of them, put your inventory on with different languages, and basically have to do everything from scratch for each separate country. And each separate market. Now with this unified Amazon seller account, it's a lot simpler now. You can have several marketplaces under your one account, one seller account. You can build international listing by this, translate all of your products into different languages, like if you're dealing in Europe, and manage your business from one Amazon seller account and only pay one fees. As I mentioned, there are two. One is the North America Unified Account, and the other one is EU Unified Accounts. In the EU, as you can see, there is Denmark, UK, France, Italy, Spain, and I think NL is Netherlands. Netherlands, yes. Obviously, Germany. I think D is Germany. And for the Northern America side, you have US, Canada, and Mexico. And as I said, you can select yourself. If you're in the UK and EU region, then you can be in a unified account of EU. And if you list your product in one market, you can literally just shift over the same, and Amazon will change the language and do the listing for you. To further explain this, I created a demo account just to show how it actually looks like. Now, this is a demo Amazon account, and if you see, I'm on Europe, right? My seller central is Europe, and I have 7 marketplaces under me. And if I'm listing any product and the inventory in one, I can literally use the same one to do all of them, and I'm only paying 1 Amazon fees for listing in all of these 7 different EU countries. So this is basically how it works, and this is what it entails. And this just makes your global reach much easier to use those marketplaces for yourself.
Yeah, and
Matthew, do apologize. Yes, sorry. .de is Germany, not Denmark. That's my mistake.
Yes, and Tamur, if you share that again, I just want to show the viewers something quickly where you had the marketplace drop down. Let's add this to the stream. But you can see at the very bottom it says add marketplaces. And if you click that, you can actually add markets. So obviously you've added them here, but that's how you can add new markets to your account. And then you can also go to manage inventory and then click on sell globally under, I believe it's under manage inventory, sell globally.
Yeah, so, I think this is a demo account, so I might not have a full view, but yeah, normally it is here.
It might be on pro accounts, but generally under manage inventory, sell globally. One thing to note on these is that for each unified account, say you have the North American unified account and European, each has to have its own unique email address. So when you sign up for each, it's going to have a unique email, but your company details can be the same, but that email needs to be different. And then you can go into one of those dashboards. Let's say you have Europe, like Tamur. You can go in there, you can go and add marketplaces. And now you can link your Europe unified account with your North American, and you have one dashboard. So you have like 10 markets within that one seller central. So it's just something else to note on this as well. But thank you for sharing that, Tamur. And the next thing that I want to go over is which markets do the most sales. And I saw there's a question on this in the chat as well. Well, a similar question is ranking the top 5 markets. Generally, that's going to be based on, which ones have the most demand, where's the highest potential. So if we had to rank these, I know you have something on this, Tamur, so why don't you share that, and then I'll chime in based on traffic. I can speak to which markets have the most traffic as well.
Definitely. I think the way that I'm looking at the stats is where did Amazon made most of the profit this year or has been making. And obviously that also means that if Amazon is making profit there, it means that they have more sellers there. So again, I'll share my screen quickly. Just before we jump into it, just wanted to give you some good news or encouragement. I was researching and this came through. So from National Statistic 2021, e-commerce industry has already rapidly growing, but now more past for 14 years, the lockdown and the quarantines, all the brick and mortar stores have driven the customers to go literally online. And 2020 has been historic year for global e-commerce sales. And as you can see from the stats here, e-commerce was growing, but this last year, it have literally, the overall sales has gone up to more than 35% to 40%, almost 40%.
Okay.
The marketplaces. So Amazon and eBay account for 40% of the UK e-commerce. And according to eMarketers, earlier they said 49% of the shoppers were on Amazon. Whenever they want to find a product, they always search on Amazon. So the Amazon stats shows how they've been making profit, and the most profit they made is in United States, Germany, and then United Kingdom. And as you can see, the graph is going up. But bulk of their sales and sellers are in United States. Now, again, as I said, this is purely from the perspective of how many sellers are there on Amazon, on which market. And as you can see, there's a lot of competition in United States, but that also means there's a lot of um, big industry of Amazon in the United States as well. And the next one is Germany, United Kingdom, Japan, and then rest of the world. But then I believe you have the other side of it, of which is the most lucrative industry at the moment.
Yeah, well, this is based on traffic. So, and it does coincide with your data as well, based on, the profits. But in terms of traffic, so how many customers visit the Amazon marketplace? Here's the top 8 that I could find. So US is, of course, number 1.
Yeah.
And I think that's 3.1 billion in traffic annually. Then you have Japan, which is a big surprise. They're next. I think it's just under 700 million. Then you have Germany, and then you have UK, really close to Germany. And then you have India, France, Italy, and then Spain. So those are the top 8. Japan I found really interesting because obviously they're a bit of a lesser known market to us, but very high traffic on that one as well. But similar data to yours, Tamir.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I think we should move on to is, where is the best to start? Where should you start selling before expanding? So what are your thoughts on that, Tamir, considering this data?
Sure. So I think I've been in touch with a lot of working capital providers, inventory providers, and fulfillment centers. And what I've learned in especially the last 6 months since Brexit, EU is a big opportunity. So where to start? Also, the answer to that also depends on where you are at this given point in time, and where have you started already. So if you're in the UK and you want to now go global, the best would be to start with going into Europe, because it's the closest market, and it will be a lot more easier. Up until now, after Brexit, it's been a mess. You need a lot of paperwork. You need a lot of understanding about the whole new VAT system, and it's more expensive to trade there than get any benefits. But good news is, from 1st of July, European market and European e-commerce, especially the e-commerce side, will become a lot more simpler and easier. And they are adopting majority of the rules that are in the US, that the marketplaces are liable for paying taxes and stuff like that. So if you're in the UK and you want to reach out, start with the neighbors. Start simple. The rules are changing. The rules are going to go a lot simpler. And one probably would be a good idea to touch the US as well. Now, based on the stats that we just mentioned, US is one of the biggest market, but it's really competitive as well. It's one of the most competitive Amazon markets out there. So you have to be really unique and different, and make a lot of efforts there. Where Germany or Europe side, it's again, it's still in emerging and developing stages. And now with the new eases, you can be one of the first users to avail the opportunities there.
Yeah, I would agree. I think in my opinion, overall, if you can start anywhere, so let's say it's not so much based on, okay, I live here, I want to sell here, and in some cases that's totally fine. But if you just had a blank canvas and could sell anywhere, I would say start with the US. Although there's a lot more competition, you just have that higher sales volume. So that's my first pick overall. And then secondly, I would say Europe for sure. And then it becomes it's a tougher decision, because you've got to choose, at the very beginning, although you can expand, you've kind of got to, at this point for FBA, choose the UK or one Europe marketplace. So I would say it's between UK and Germany there, on starting with Europe.
With that, I will definitely say I think Germany would be a better option, because with Germany, if you're registered and all of your paperwork is done in Germany, then from that you can do fulfillment to rest of the Europe. However, if you're a UK-based business, and then the rules are quite different as well. So I think what as I mentioned, technically on tax side of things, it's very specific, situation based on what is more beneficial for you. But market wise, as you mentioned, US definitely, as we saw the graphs as well. There's no one, there's no other market that can beat US. Probably US is more than everyone else combined. So definitely start there.
For sure. And the next question is, does your company need to be set up in certain locations in order to sell in certain marketplaces? And I'll jump in on this one. Yes. So each of those markets, or each of those unified accounts, so let's say US, or let's say North American unified account, European, each has their own accepted seller lists. So the countries accepted by each are different, and you want to check both those lists. That's also important. Even if you just start in one, you want to be able to expand later to the others. So where your company is based should be on those accepted lists in accordance with like your expansion plan. And I'll also drop those lists below this video once we're done. But Taimur, anything you would add to that?
I think you covered the logistics and the admin side of it. In terms of taxes and the accounting side, just remember that each country has their own set of rules, but those rules are drastically changing on honestly monthly basis. So UK whole e-commerce system changed on 1st of January. Europe is changing on 1st of July. US has been quite easy from day one. So wherever you're trying to reach out, just make sure you know the customs, first of all, customs and import, VAT and stuff. And you know how to make sure that those are declared. Because what happened with Brexit was, who people did not know what's happening with the rules. They sent a lot of goods into Europe, and there's a report that 30% of the retail goods that were sent came back, and it was so expensive to recover them that people decided to burn them. So just be sure wherever you're trying to expand, you know the rules of those countries specifically for tax purposes.
For sure. And this is a cool one. Are reviews transferable? So say I sell in, let's say, Europe, or let's say I sell in the US, like I know a lot of the viewers do start there. If I expand to Europe, can I transfer the reviews? And again, I do have a couple notes on this, and then Taimur, I'll hand to you. But if that ASIN already exists in the US, let's say you have this product live in North America, then when you expand, let's say to Europe, let's say you expand to Germany, when you add the product to Germany, you want to add it using that same ASIN as in the US. And when you do that, it's going to actually pull in reviews from the US. It takes some time to propagate, but it will pull those in. And then it does depend on the marketplace, what they term those. Sometimes it will say international reviews, or it will say reviews from this country. But generally, it will actually add to that top review count. There are some situations where it stops adding to the top review count, like the overall account or overall review count on the listing, when you start getting local reviews in that marketplace. But in general, it's going to add to that overall review count. And I can show some examples of that as well. But Taimur, anything you want to add to this?
No, Dan, I think you've covered the whole thing. As you said, the ASIN is the most important thing, and Amazon is quite easy on the transfers of reviews, because it's literally pulling the same data out to that. So yeah, if you follow what Dan has said, you'll probably be able to simply get your reviews transferred. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, let me try and share this. I'm going to share screen. And sorry, one moment. Just this should be a good example of this. But do you see some reviews, Taimur?
Yeah.
Okay, so here you can see I need to add this to, oh, it is on the stream. But here you can see that this is the UK marketplace for this item, and you're seeing UK reviews. But then as we scroll down, you can see over here, these were reviewed on Germany, for example,
Yeah.
reviewed in France. So these are all adding in from other markets. And even in the US, you can see this below product. Sometimes it will say reviewed in Italy, etc. So that's just an example of how your reviews are going to show up once they're transferred across. And next up is what is needed on the bookkeeping side when selling internationally. So this is really your wheelhouse, Tamur. And this is what Osome specializes in. We're covering content that I know you guys want covered, and Tamur is also, getting or bringing a different perspective to these things, but they specialize in the bookkeeping, accounting, managing behind the scenes of this business. So Tamir, what do you think on this side?
Sure. So let's look at the different levels on what you need for the bookkeeping side of things. So if you're a UK limited company, rules will be different. If you're a US LLC company, you follow US rules. But let's look from UK perspective. When you're in UK and you're selling into rest of the world, every sale that you have made, you need to declare in UK. So when we talk about bookkeeping and selling globally, we need any sale that we are making in any part of the world, that sale needs to be recorded in your UK books. So if, for example, I sold £5,000 this month in UK and £10,000 in US, I will pay tax on that £10,000 as well as corporation tax. So I need to bring that over. That will probably be £8,000 once you currency convert. You will need to record the currency conversions. There will be losses on those. So the essence is that everything that you are selling and everything that you're buying globally at whatever level, all of that needs to be book kept in a way that is legal and applicable in UK. And then whatever the net profits are, you need to pay tax on that. There are a lot of things that you can, as I mentioned, foreign gains and losses. If during the conversion, when you're converting from US to UK, you probably make a loss, you can use that to reduce your corporation tax. So there are some elements that are quite different, and you need someone who specializes in this area like Osome to understand and help you with it. How do you do it on a regular basis? You connect all of your different marketplaces to your accounting softwares like we do. So if you're selling on your European, like German Amazon marketplace, anytime you make any sale, that will come to your accounting software automatically, like Xero, because we have the third-party APIs connected to it. Same for US as well. So when you go to the basics, just make sure that you have the automation in place. Otherwise, going through line-by-line sales or from Amazon reports could be a big mess. So those are the few elements that you need to make sure that you're following when you're doing bookkeeping globally.
Okay, and then guys, thank you so much for your questions in the chat box. We are going to jump onto these. We just want to get through the ones that have already come in and the really important ones, and then we're going to jump straight to you guys in the chat. But Tamur, the next question or related question is, okay, how do I handle different consumer taxes? So we're talking here like UK VAT, value added tax, and then US sales tax, which is like their consumer tax. So people get very confused with these two. Could you explain a bit on those, how to handle those? And also, I think really importantly, is when people are not going to pay one or the other, because that gets really confused with, paying tax on the company's profit is one thing you're always going to do, but people get quite confused with, okay, I have to pay sales tax or VAT because I'm selling in one market or another. So if you could just explain that.
Sure thing. So remember, whenever you're trading from a limited company or a company like in US is called LLC, whenever you're doing these trades, they're mainly in each country there are three types of taxes. One is tax on salary. One is tax on your profits. So the profit is whatever you've sold minus all the expenses. the left amount is your net profit, and you pay tax on it. And the last is consumer tax, as Dan mentioned. Now, each country has their own set of rules for consumer tax. US is completely different to Europe. Before, UK and Europe was combined in a single market, so it was quite similar result. Now, from 1st of January, that has changed as well. A lot of UK own rules have changed. So what you need to worry about and think of is what type of an e-commerce business you are. So if you're a drop shipper, your import VAT would be completely different. Your liabilities will be completely different. So just to explain you the way it works is, if you're a UK business individual, your suppliers are UK, everything is quite simple and straightforward. You have no international connections like suppliers or customers. All you will do is, as soon as your sales go to £85,000, anytime you sell something to any of your consumer, you will charge them 20%. Collect that 20% and pay that to HMRC. But in return, you are paying 20% to all of your purchases as well. So what HMRC allows you to do is, whatever you've collected on behalf of HMRC on your sales and whatever you've paid on your purchases, minus them, and whatever the difference is, you can pay to HMRC. Now, this is only localized rules. Now, when you start adding global situation, it like now the EU, after Brexit, and US, they will have their own set of rules that is not connected to UK. So if you're selling in Germany and you're selling from UK or from China to Germany or any part of the other European countries, based on their rule, you will be paying import VAT and customs on those countries and doing a VAT return there. And they will follow the same rule for whatever you have charged and whatever you have paid. The difference you will pay to their government as well. This is up until now. The new rules that are coming in, and what the rules are in US, is your marketplaces like Amazon will charge consumer VAT on behalf of you to your end consumer. So, for example, if you put any item on your Amazon for £10, Amazon will put the 20% extra, like £2 on it, and charge your customers for £12, give you back the £10, and pay the £2 back to the governments. And this was up until for the sales tax in US from 1st of July. This will be the same case for rest of the Europe as well. So, when I said initially in this call that things are getting much easier, this is one of the part of making our e-commerce life easy, is making the marketplaces held responsible for the sales tax and VAT, and so on. So if you're on a marketplace, it will be much easier. If you're selling on different platforms or your own e-commerce, then the rules are completely different and you have to do a lot on your own. So based on those, obviously, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But just be mindful that the new rules also means a lot of confusion and complications. Just be sure of what it is and how it applies to your business.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with the marketplaces. It's the marketplace facilitator laws now, where they actually are doing this on behalf of sellers. I think is excellent because it allows sellers to focus more on their business while that's collected at the consumer level. But the big thing just to remember is you're only going to be paying sales tax if that sale occurs in a sales tax country like the US. So only if it's sold there is sales tax charged. And VAT being the same, the VAT only becomes applicable if the sale is made in a VAT charging country like the UK or Germany. But thank you, Timur.
Just to touch on that a little bit as well, as I said, from 1st of July, rules are changing. So one of the new rule is that if your good is less than €150, and at the point of sale it was outside Euro, and you post it to your consumer, then like you're not using FBA or something, you're using your fulfilled by merchant, then marketplaces will be collecting VAT and paying it. As soon as the value of your sale goes above 150, then you will be charged import VAT. So that's where I said that be mindful of what rules are and how rules can affect you, because you might end up paying VAT in different circumstances.
For sure. The next one, I'm going to jump in on this one. But how can I sell to all countries within a unified account? So let's say I'm selling in the US. I have a North American unified account, and I can sell to Canada. I can sell to Mexico because that's what's in that unified account. the best way to sell to the others is you're going to go into, again, manage inventory, sell globally, and within there is a tool called Build International Listings. So this is one way that you can actually expand your listing from the original marketplace to the others. And there's a very cool system within the North American account, which offers you two solutions. Now, in either of these, let's say from the US, in either let's say you want to sell in Canada. In either, you are going to create a listing in Canada and it is going to transfer reviews. But then you have two options on fulfillment. The first one is called remote fulfillment with FBA. And what this entails is that you don't actually send more inventory to Canada. All your inventory is kept in your home marketplace, let's say the US. And then when customers buy from your Canadian listing, that item is exported from the US to Canada. So you're not offering prime shipping, and it's often a little more expensive to cover those fees, but it's a way for you to test the waters almost in these other markets. And then the second way is you can do FBA in Canada as well. And in that situation, you're actually going to send inventory to Canada. So you're now going to also have a Canadian inventory pool, but that is going to then, of course, allow you to offer prime shipping and those other benefits. So that's one way to do it from your home marketplace. You can build international listings. And then the other way is to go to the other market and add that product using the same ASIN, and it will also pull it in. But just some notes on that if you do want to expand to all the countries in your unified account. And we've covered this one. So this is a very cool one. Can I use my trademark for brand registry across markets? So let's say I expand. Can I get A+ content or videos or brand registry on the other market using my existing trademark in the other country? So I can just add a few points on this from my experience. It's like a yes and no. In some cases, yes. In some cases, yes, for a limited time, and in some cases, no. Because how a trademark's meant to work is it's geographic. So if you have a US trademark, it's only going to protect you in the US. And the same with UK, only UK. But brand registry is of course a little different. Amazon kind of has its own rules. So there was a time where I, for example, was able to use my trademarks between the two, UK and US, and get brand registry for both brands. But then they've started to cut this off where you now need to register the trademark again in the other market. So it's a bit of a gray one on this. What I would say is try and add the same brand to brand registry in the other market and see if it works, if it goes through. You might get lucky there. In some cases, you'll actually need to register the mark again in that new region. But Tamur, anything you want to add to this one?
No, I think you perfectly covered it. I think one thing that I will mention, as you said, it's very geographical. Trademark is only registered in the country that you registered it in, and I think Amazon follows the same rules as well. So if your trademark is not registered in a different country that you're selling, then I think the first thing is look at how you can get that done. But as Dan said, give it a try first and see if that works for you. But legally, I think as far as my limited knowledge on this goes, is that you would have to register your trademark in each country that you want to get into.
And then another question here was, is there a way for me to sell? Let's say I sell in the US. Is there a way for me to sell to other markets or to customers internationally without setting up other accounts? And there is one way where you can go into Seller Central, go to your settings, go to Fulfillment by Amazon in the settings drop down, and then you can enable FBA export.
Yeah.
So in this situation, your goods can actually be exported from the US to like almost anywhere in the world, and then that foreign customer is going to pick up the duties, extra shipping, and of course wait a lot longer on receiving it. But it is a way for you to quite easily expand your customer base. And then last one here that we had come in was, in order to have all the existing reviews transferred from one market to, yes, so we've covered this part, but here's the key on this question is, let's say I transfer a listing from the US to Canada, and I choose to do Canada FBA. So I'm actually sending inventory to a new inventory pool in Canada.
Yep.
In this case, will the ASIN and will the FNSKU be the same? And this is a good question. And number one, the ASIN will remain the same because it's the same listing, regardless of fulfillment. But if you do FBA and you're sending a new pool of stock to a new marketplace, the FNSKU is going to be different because that's a fulfillment network SKU for a new market, for a new inventory pool. And of course, the number of stock there needs to be tracked independently from what's over here. So the FNSKU is going to be different if you're now doing FBA with an inventory pool somewhere else. Of course, if you're just doing like remote fulfillment, the FNSKU remains the same. I think the rule of thumb here is FNSKUs are the same as an inventory pool. So if you have one inventory pool, in other words, you have products just in one location or one country, then it's going to have one FNSKU. And if you have multiple inventory pools, each of those will have different FNSKUs, that little label on the product. Awesome. And now, Tamur, we can open up to the questions that we have in the chat box here.
True.
And let's see. So we did rank these. Matthew, good question. So Mufaza asks, if I have an account in the UK, then can I sell our product in every country? So, Tamur, I think a cool thing to cover on this question is, let's say Mufaza sells in the UK and he wants to sell in the rest of Europe. Can you speak to his options there? Because, of course, if he has the different inventory pools, there's certain implications there. Or, with Brexit, if you could just speak to that.
Sure. So I'm going to quickly share my screen to show the presentation I made. Okay, so how to continue to sell in EU if you're a UK-based business. Currently, at this point in time, after Brexit, so from 1st of January until 1st of July 2021, there are three options. Similar to what Amazon Exports does, you just send your products to the EU declaring that your end consumer will be the importer of goods. It's not the best experience, but what will happen is customer will knock on their door and ask for extra money plus a form to fill. Once they do that, they will get the product. So you can simply be in the UK and use that. You can use one of the fulfillment partners. Now, Amazon obviously is one of them. Amazon themselves do not like sending goods to Europe without VAT registration of a seller there. So with Amazon, you have to be careful because Amazon, any order coming through Amazon will ask you for your VAT registration number. So one of the things that you can do now is register yourself in one of the European countries like Germany. It's one of the most favorite ones. You send a bulk of goods there and switch on your Amazon FBA to rest of the Europe. Currently, there's a threshold. So if you're in Germany and you're selling into France, anything up until 30,000 Europe in France, you don't need to register in France. So you can fulfill your products from Germany into rest of the Europe without having to register in any other country. So that's the most obvious and famous option. But again, that requires registration, as you mentioned. Without getting into it, the only option is just to send the goods without Amazon FBA. Using a merchant fulfillment on yourself. But from 1st of July, things are changing. If you are storing goods the distance selling threshold is going away, but there will be new VAT registration requirement which Amazon will ask you to do, and that's called OSS and IOSS, one-stop shop and import one-stop shop. So the only differences from now and 1st of July would be now, for each European country, if you store goods in, you will have to VAT register in each country when you sell. With the new rules, it will be a bit more relaxed and different, and Amazon will be responsible for charging VAT on sales. So I believe, I think I've covered the questions, but other things that you need is your VAT registration number plus your EORI number. Those and a bit of a flow on this is that if you're selling from UK to EU, then you need both. But if you're selling from outside, like you're ordering China and sending it to Europe from outside, you just need EU EORI number. So those are the few basically situations which you can use to still continue selling in Europe. But you have to be careful on what the country's rule are. So for example, if you register yourself in France for whatever reason, like you have a better fulfillment partner there, or you think that Amazon FBA will work better there, remember Amazon requires a local fiscal representation, which could be painful because you need a local accountant there to register you and be a partner with you. With Germany, you don't. So those are some perks and goods and bads about each country. You just need to figure out which one is best suited for you and your business.
For sure. And Timur, so like summing that up, or the current situation is if you sell in Europe, if there's a split between UK and all the others, if you want to sell in both, you need two different inventory pools. If you're selling FBA, one needs to go to UK and one needs to go to one of the Europe countries. And that's what Timur is saying, is some of those are more beneficial than others when you really get into like the nitty gritty. And I really recommend you guys do check out Osome if you need that kind of help. That's what they, specialize in, those types of things. But
sorry, Dan, just to show some context on it. So
okay.
Again, there are 27 EU countries. 19 of them now requires a UK business to have a fiscal representation. And again, as I mentioned, fiscal representation means someone local who will do your VAT registration and do your VAT submissions, which means that they will charge you a lot of money, because what their responsibility is that if you miss any VAT submission or any VAT payment, the France government or whichever government you're linked to, they will charge the accountant your VAT. So for this, they will have to take out a big insurance and they will charge you a lot of money. So just be careful in which country you're trying to register yourself and sending your pool of goods there for Amazon FBA. And as I said, some countries do not require this, like Germany. Some countries have a better road system where Amazon fulfillment is a lot quicker. So yeah, those are, as I said, as Dan was saying, as well, perks and conditions to sell in different countries.
And Timur, what's your opinion? What would be your top pick?
Since based on my experience and what I've seen with a lot of my clients are doing is they're registering themselves in Germany. First of all, they do expect some level of English in their forms, so you can submit their registration forms in English. So it's much easier. It does not require any full local accountants, so we can represent our client in Germany. And apparently, I'm not 100% because I haven't seen it physically, but the fulfillment is much better from Amazon Germany warehouse to rest of the Europe because of the road system. So if someone is asking me, I'll say Germany, always.
Okay. Also, huge sales volume.
Sales volume, yes.
It's a good market. And a good leading question here is, Richard asks, does Osome provide services in this regard? I mean, Timur, you're quite knowledgeable on this. I know you do bookkeeping, accounting, that side of the business, but what do you think on this question? Can people reach out? Do you offer anything in this space, or
so the current way we're working is that if a client is coming to us, let's say he's a UK-based business and now he wants to expand into European side, we have done all the thorough research, and we can help them step by step on helping them to get to that stage. And any roadblocks that even we are not able to settle, then we have partners like yourself and some EU accountants who get involved, and then they help us. So we have also is trying to build a big ecosystem that will be like a one-stop shop for all of your e-commerce issues, with a lot of different valuable partners like yourself. So definitely, Richard, please reach out, and I can definitely, or we can definitely help you reaching your global market.
Awesome. And Cecilia asks, do we need to upload images and titles from scratch again? And this is related to when you expand offers. So Cecilia, it's a really good question. Sometimes, or most of the time, it's going to pull across most of the listing. The biggest areas I found problems in is when I expand in Europe. Because we've got listing translation, sometimes it will pull in parts of the listing, but it will pull in like one bullet point. So it does it inconsistently in some cases. So definitely check over it, and then you're going to need to add back what is not there. In other cases, though, like I've expanded an offer from the US to UK, and it almost did it seamlessly. So I believe they're getting better on this in pulling it all across. But one thing I will say on Europe is I would have a professional translator translate those listings, because the robotic translation that Amazon does is just not very good. And you have to keep in mind keyword research, PPC, in those other marketplaces. Those are based on really specific keywords. So if you don't know the language and you have like robotic translation, all the keywords could all be wrong, which is going to impact ranking. So that's what I recommend there. And Alex says, what's your opinion for Amazon in countries like India? So I don't personally sell in India at this point. Obviously, I actually worked with a client who sold in India, who they have just done extremely well, because what they've done is they've taken the strategies like US sellers are using, where it's so competitive, and people know the marketplace so well, and they've taken that to like a smaller market or like a less competitive market, and they've applied that in India and grown a huge brand there. So I think with all these lesser talked about known markets, there's a huge opportunity. The key is, I would say, choosing, in a lot of cases, volume products. You have to look at two major things. One is price sensitivity. For example, Europe is quite a bit more price sensitive than the US. It just is. So you have to be more careful there. In some of these other countries, you want to monitor that and your cost. But secondly, go for volume. Like if you were to start selling in Australia, you can choose products which are way too competitive in the US, much more mainstream, but are going to produce volume as that marketplace grows. So that's what I would say on those. But my personal opinion, if you have any choice on where to start, I would say the US, just because of the massive volume, followed by Europe, probably with Germany in the current state of Europe. And let's see. So Boomer says, if I were to set up a UK FBA account, I'm currently living in the UK, could I run it from South Africa? So yes, Boomer, you could. The key, I'll tell you, like anyone can set up, pretty much anyone could set up a company in the UK, let's say, or in the US. But the hardest part's getting the bank account. Now you are there in the UK. That means you're probably staying somewhere, you have a utility bill, you probably have the ability to open a bank account there. So that's what I would say. Before, returning to SA, open the bank account and set that stuff up if this is something you want to do. Because setting it up from a different country, that's where it can become really difficult. So use that advantage that you have on where you're based. But yes, there won't be like an IP problem or anything. And one for you, Tamur. Tax is different for every country. how can Osome help sellers be compliant in different countries?
Definitely, and that's where I mentioned the ecosystem that Osome has created. So we have accountants in Singapore, we have accountants in Moscow, KL, now in United Kingdom, soon hopefully US as well. But as of this point now, we have hundreds and hundreds of e-commerce clients only who are selling in different countries and different aspects of the um, different ways of the Amazon as well, so using different aspects of it, and we cover all of them. So what we are trying to provide is one-stop solution for all of your accounting and taxes. So if you have, if now suddenly you think you want to register for Europe VAT and you want to start doing the European VAT, like Germany, you will just contact your accountant. That could be the me or one of the other accountants at UK office, and they will take care of rest of it. And so we have partners in place like big names in Europe, who then we send the client to and get them registered. But the main point for you is you will not need to worry about any of this, or you will just speak to one person. So one person to look after your UK taxes, your European taxes, your US sales tax, and everything. What's happening at the background is where the ecosystem that I mentioned has been created.
Okay, and related, Timur, on the third parties access, say someone has an Osome account, can that be given third party access? Or just overall, what do you think on this question?
So let me understand this. Can third party access my Osome accounts like my accountant? Yes. So if you just want to use Osome as bookkeepers only and you want to have your own accountants, then the app that we have created has a really good simplistic way of adding people into it. So just imagine yourself like a WhatsApp chat group. So you can add people into it and we can start having a conversation. So your accountant will be directly linked to us, and with your given permission, we will continue chatting with them and understanding and helping them, bookkeep your business.
Oh, right. And Matthew asks, as a US-based LLC selling on .com, if I want to expand to Europe, starting with Germany, do I need to file paperwork and or tax forms in those countries, apart from the initial setup paperwork? So what do you think, Timur?
Okay, so different business model means different rules. So from 1st of July, so I'll talk about from 1st of July because, anything that I say about the current situation is going to go away. So from 1st of July, if you're doing a drop shipping model, which is when you get the sales, then only you send the product to Europe. You don't need to, because the marketplaces will be responsible to do that on your behalf. You will not pay any import VAT or any customs, because that's the minimum threshold of 150 euros. Anything above 150 euros, you will need to pay the import VAT and do the custom declarations as well. If you're using this model, that's the rule. But if you're not using Amazon, or if you're doing it on your own and you want to expand your website, then you have to register from day one. If you're not using a marketplace and you're doing on your own, then yes, any single item that you send from 1st of July, even something as small as 20 pounds, 20 euro, you need to register for VAT and do the VAT declarations to save your customers paying the input VAT and customs. Lastly, Amazon FBA. If you want to send a bulk of your goods into one of the countries, then yes, you need to register for VAT in that country, and whichever country you want to send and store your goods. So to summarize, different type of business e-commerce model means different type of set of rules. You need to, if you want to have a chat, you tell me, and then I'll tell you exactly what rules apply to you.
Perfect. And then how do people contact you, Timur?
Please follow the link that Dan will provide. That will give you some discounts and give you an opportunity to book a consultation with me as well. That's probably the easiest and simplest way.
Cool. I believe those are already below the video. If you guys want to check them out now, I think I did drop them there. And then Ayan asks, when we sell in other markets, Amazon automatically translates. In that case, should I keep that automatic translation or translator? Translator, 100%. As before, you need to know not only that it reads well, but that you have the right keywords. So, if tactical backpack is a very important keyword, if a robot translates that in German, it might not be accurate, but it's very important that it's accurate. So you rank for it, can run ads for it. So definitely a translator. Um, you can find many on Fiverr.com, and then just make sure they not only translate the listing for you, but they also do the keyword research for you. And let's see here. Nonio, if I import from China to a 3PL, it's a third-party warehouse, like next to Amazon, then can I send from there to other countries, or is it better to send directly from China to the different countries without a 3PL? Recommendation, please.
So again, if you're importing from China to UK, rules are different. If you're importing from China to rest of the Europe, rules will be different. So first thing that you mentioned, that you're sending it to a 3PL, and they will store the goods and then do the fulfillment. Then with that, you need to register in one of the countries where you're storing it. So the bulk of the rule is that as soon as you start storing good in one country, then regardless of how much you're storing it, from the first time you need to register for VAT. Some 3PLs are giving a service out where they're registering themselves for VAT, and they're saying that we will buy the goods from you rather than storing it for you. Again, there's a way around it to help suppliers basically use the 3PL, but they will charge you a big fees for that. So what they're doing is they're saying, send the goods to us with an invoice. We will buy these goods of you, and we will register for VAT and do all of your VAT, and then fulfill the goods as they come along. So different options for different reasons. Some could be more expensive and some could be less expensive. Just have a look in it. In terms of UK, if you're selling it directly from China for each of your sales, then you don't need to worry about any import or customs or VAT registration. If you're selling it on Amazon, Amazon will take care of everything as long as each sale is less than £135. As soon as it goes above £135, rules are different. And this will be the same rule for Europe. As long as the goods are less than €150, you're good. If it goes above 150, rules will be different.
Okay. And Nonio, what I would say is it's likely better to send direct to the other markets logistically, putting aside like the registration requirements. Let's say you just want to send to let's say you are doing FBA in the US and Canada. It's better, in my opinion, just send one shipment to the US and one to, in fact, that would be a more difficult one. You would have to look specifically at which markets you have and where your supplier is based. But generally, I think it's probably going to be better to send direct, especially if you have quite big inventory orders, to send direct, because otherwise you're going to have this really complex and probably costly last mile, of the journey of those goods going to different areas. So likely it would be better if it's significant amounts to send direct. And again, those would have different FNSKUs. And Lena says, how about UAE? So I don't sell in the UAE specifically, but another emerging market. So I would say the same as what I did say for Australia, focus on those aspects. But Tamur, what about on your side of things for UAE?
I think UAE still is one of the emerging markets. Let me quickly check. UAE is, so United Arab Emirates. And I don't have anything to show as a reference, but what I've read so far is the consumer habit there is going to change a lot. So they're big on, big shopping malls and going physically to the shop and buying goods and stuff. But the Amazon will probably, or the e-commerce might change that aspect, especially for the convenience part of things. So this might be a good time to jump into that train and see how it goes. As I said, reports are different. Some people are saying that the consumer habit is different there. Some are saying that the convenience might overrule that. We'll have to see. But from what I know, it's always better to jump on it than just wait and see what happens.
For sure. And Cecilia asks, when I build international listings, let's say I go to sell globally, will I have the option to choose remote fulfillment versus FBA, or does it always default to remote fulfillment? So it does default to remote fulfillment. So it's saying, okay, you sell in US, why don't we let's create a listing in Canada and see if it sells, and it automates that. So remote fulfillment is usually automated, but then what you can do on that listing is convert it to FBA. So you can convert it to standard Canadian FBA. It's not so much about building a separate listing, because both are. Like if you expand a listing using Build International Listing tool, you're still creating, it's not going to be a different listing depending on if it's FBA or remote fulfillment. It's just the type of fulfillment for that listing. But yes, in those settings, you can then change it to full FBA. The one thing I will say is their system on this, it's almost like it's still in beta, can be a little bit frustrating if you're using the Build International. So in some cases, you might want to just add the ASIN there, create a new product, and then set it to FBA if that's what you want to do. However, my opinion is do remote fulfillment first. There's no harm because you're getting great sales data. Does it sell well there? Should we send inventory there and then expand or decide on whether to send stock there and go full FBA? And Wiz, one of my friend's professional accounts is stuck in validation for 3 to 4 months. His inventory is ready in China. Every day he's emailed support, but they only copy pasted the reply from support. So I personally had a really long verification process. It was very difficult because some details didn't match up. This often occurs when perhaps you don't live in an accepted country, or there's some confusion on that. So he's just going to need to deal with support as much as he can. At a certain point, they're given a verification rep, and that person will really help. So at this point, it's just about trying to ensure everything's perfectly aligned. And I would check out our seller account video, how to set up a seller account, and we go in depth there. But the big thing that often gets people stuck is like addresses. Your address needs to be pinpoint exactly as on like let's say your utility bill. What you put in on Amazon needs to be 100% right. I once had a problem because it missed a comma. It didn't have a comma in the address, and that kept us from getting verified. So because it's a machine, it just like scans it. So just make sure everything is 100% right. And Robbie, how do I get to ship to an Amazon fulfillment center on the West Coast? Seller Central always gives me a location far away from the LA port. So what you can do is go into settings on Seller Central, Fulfillment by Amazon in the drop down, and you can choose the inventory placement service. It's going to cost you money for that, but it allows you to have your inventory sent to a specific warehouse. In terms of location of warehouses, that's more difficult because if their warehouses are full on the West Coast, they're just not going to give you a West Coast fulfillment center. So what I would suggest is trial and error. What you can do is delete the shipping plan and recreate the shipping plan until you get one that you prefer. A lot of the time, the location of that center is based on your ship from address. So that's just something to keep in mind. They try to give you the closest one to your ship from address. But of course, if that's international, they're just going to go with where has space. And Mahad says, with the starter package at 37 a month, how much access do I have with my Osome accountant to ask for advice? And Tamur, I think an important one is this one as well. Osome, what is it? So if you could quickly explain, Osome for those watching, and then you can dive into Mahad's question.
Sure. So basically, technically, Osome is a technology company. What it does is figure out what is not working, and creates the system in place, the artificial intelligence in place to ease up the industry and help automate that whole process. So first element on that is e-commerce. So what we realized was that when someone is selling on Amazon, eBay, or Etsy, or different platforms online, they do provide a really comprehensive reporting system. But how do that converts into accounting and bookkeeping, and how to accurately make sure that all of the legislations that are out there to record to ensure that your books are recorded in a way asked by HMRC and different governments, that is done. And whatever Amazon is producing or a different platform is producing as report, you do get that as well. So Osome has created this technology that automates the whole process, push it to your accounting software, and then make it easy for your bookkeeper and accountant to do that easily. So we, as an accountant in Osome and the bookkeepers in Osome, use this platform to provide this smooth and seamless process for you for your books and accounting. What it looks like on a regular basis is that all of your compliance will be met. Your VAT, payroll, sales tax, VAT tax, all of that will be done automatically in a smooth transition on regular basis. What it also means is that you will get an up-to-date picture of your business on finance wise. So how much you're actually making, not just the figure from Amazon, but actually how much profit you made and how much money can you take home. When you take that money home, how much tax will you pay? So all of these other ends that you normally not get from any of the other reportings, and you get with that's what you get from Osome. So Osome is an online accounting and bookkeepers who does all of this for you through an app, and that's what Osome is. Now, to answer your question, we have a chat system. So we have different packages for different level of clients. So if you're new on Amazon, you're new on e-commerce, and this is your first month, I think we give you first one free. If you have been trading for a while and you're making a few 100,000, then obviously you have a different package based on your revenue. Normally the consultation starts either once a month or once a quarter, where you get me or one of the other accountants who will sit with you and go through all of your questions. But what else you get is an unlimited times of chat system. So we give you a WhatsApp like chat, which is called Osome App. You can write as many questions as you want there, as many times, and the promise is that we will get back to you within 24 hours. So similar to what we are doing here at the moment, on the chat, the system, you're writing questions and we are answering. That is, we provide the same thing in a more casual way rather than being very formal accountants. So you get unlimited of that, and unlimited times of support from an accountant. So those are the few elements that is Osome, and how we provide consultation to you on a regular basis.
Okay, and Vladimir asks, can you clarify, with that same starter package, will you file my corporation tax returns and yearly returns on my behalf?
Let me share my screen and see which package we are talking about, so I can have a look. So this is Osome website. I believe you're obviously looking at the e-commerce side. And if I go to the packages, yep, this one. So we're probably talking about this one, which is £45 a month or $550 if you bill annually. So this, yes, it helps you file your corporation tax, confirmation statement, annual management report, and a personal accountant and bookkeeping. The only thing that it does not do is do your day-to-day bookkeeping. It does your bookkeeping and accounting once a year, submit everything to HMRC and the government bodies, all of the compliance submissions, and give you a report. But it does not give you day-to-day bookkeeping and consultations. With consultation, however, I'm quite open. If you have something very specific about your accounts which can make a drastic change, then I'm more than happy to jump on a call. But the way it's different from other accounting packages is that no day-to-day bookkeeping is involved in it. And I hope that's what your question was.
Yes. So you guys will cover those
We cover, yeah,
aspects.
corporation tax and yearly returns, all of that, both to Companies House and HMRC will cover all of that. Yes.
Perfect. And are Mexico and Canada considered remote FBA, and how do we navigate that? So if you have a North American unified account, yes, let's say you're selling in the US, you can remote fulfill, so use that program to Canada and Mexico. And you can add those marketplaces as we showed at the beginning of this, or you can go into manage inventory, sell globally, and actually add markets there. And then you can do remote fulfillment to those, and orders will be shipped out from the US to those customers. Then what you can also do, though, is you can convert those into full FBA. So it's like Mexico FBA, Canada FBA. And at that point, you're actually going to ship inventory to those other marketplaces as well. And JB, how do I get around error 5665 without starting and paying for full production and then having my supplier taking photos for me? So JB, I'm not sure which error this is. If you could just explain the exact problem that you're having. And you got it, Robbie. And Cecilia says, hi Dan, does your membership subscription also do this kind of live Q&A? I'm loving this. Well, awesome. Thank you, Cecilia. So the YouTube membership, you can actually click join right below any of our videos next to subscribe. There's a little join button and you can learn more. But yes, we're actually doing this on Sunday. We do like a much more private Q&A with only the individuals in that membership. And then also we have a private Facebook group, which I check every single day. So you can ask me questions anytime, because obviously with YouTube, it's becoming a lot more difficult to handle. There's a lot of comments. So it's very difficult for me to answer everything. That way you ensure I can answer. So you also have that access. And then at the higher level, we actually just posted it yesterday, but we actually give away product ideas every single month. Obviously, I can't invest in every idea I find, but we break down usually 3 or 4 high potential products each month at the higher tier. But that's what it includes, Cecilia. And thank you for all your support as well. And JB, I'm just looking if you did specify. And Wiz actually says, JB, message me. I'll help you with this error. So he's had that error. And this is something else I just want to mention is since I created this little YouTube membership in the Facebook group, it is so valuable for sellers to be able to interact with sellers. Because in this case, perhaps Wiz had this problem and JB is now having this problem. So that interaction is absolutely key. And one of the reasons I like doing these lives more. Okay, so Wiz obviously has had this issue, but thank you, Wiz, for offering your help there. And JB does specialize, and Robbie, I'll come back to you. JB says, when I try to make a new listing and input my brand name and the UPC code, it comes up with this error and asks me to send photos of the product with the branding. Okay, so this is a very common one. And they often ask for you to send these images of the product, and it must be labeled with like the manufacturer's details. So the key here is in a lot of these cases, you are seen as the manufacturer. So I would put your details on there first, exactly as match on your account, and try that. In the worst case, you may have to actually put your manufacturer's details on there and attempt that. So I have heard of this issue, though. It's very common, which is a good thing because it's not unique to you, JB. Apparently, there's like a system problem with this at the moment. but just attempt to make those details 100% exact. They must match the manufacturer details. And they actually ask for manufacturer or brand owner, and you are the brand owner. So that's what I would say here is keep it to your exact details. Look at what you have on your Amazon account and input it there exactly like on your account, down to the comma, and attempt that. And you see, so Vladimir says, I have the same problem. It is a problem at the moment. Just persist. I know it's really frustrating. But be meticulous with details. That's very important with Amazon. And hey, Johnny and Abdo, thank you for joining us. Robbie, I did miss your question. Have you used Helium 10's PPC tool, Atomic? If so, would you recommend using that tool to manage PPC? Robbie, it's funny you ask because they actually just reached out to me on updates they've made to this. It's called like Atomic, like Atomic, but with add. And I definitely am going to look into it. I don't know enough about it to share yet. But you know, Helium 10, they usually do things quite well. But I will have an update for you on that in the near future as well. Perfect. And Wiz actually gives a little advice here. I use tug of... Okay. So anyway, Wiz knows more on this issue.
Wiz seem to have gone through all of it. He knows a lot.
Yeah. So check in with him if you are having that problem. But just again, make sure details are absolutely exact. That's really important. But thank you guys so much for all of your questions. And thank you, Tamur, as well for joining. I really enjoyed this one. I think we covered a lot of ground. But any last advice you would give sellers, just in general, on expanding, on keeping compliant, any ideas to end?
I would simply say, look, if you're in your local market and you have started or you have been going for a while and you're successful, do not be afraid of expanding yourself, especially to the big markets like US and Europe, because those are great markets where you can expand a lot more. Do your thorough research and understanding on what it is and how it is, but touch those markets definitely, because it will only bring you closer to achieving your goals and expanding your business and brand. Find someone who will act as a partner with you and grow with you rather than just charge you, one-off fees and then leave you hanging, because it's complicated, difficult areas now. It's a gold mine, but reaching there is difficult. So find someone who will help you reach there and get to that mine. And if you can do that, that will definitely help you grow your business.
Excellent. And if you guys do want to learn more on Osome, remember you can also save. I actually partner with Tamur and Osome, so you guys can save on that sign up as well if you do go with them, in the description below. But if you did find value in this, please remember, smash that like. That always helps us. Subscribe to the channel if you are not. But Tamur, thank you again. And thank you everyone who joined us. Awesome questions here. And we will catch you in the next one. Keep well, guys. Bye.